glass half full, old man arguing laws, nobody reads through, so we pour one strong, let the record spin.
We're just upstairs from Social Media Lab,
Yes.
of which we did. We had a conversation with Lieutenant Governor Pam Yvette about her campaign for governor. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking to another candidate for governor, our colleague in the House, Jermaine Johnson. He is running, seeking the Democrat nomination to run for the governor of the state of South Carolina. So we're going to have that discussion today, and also talk about a big issue that seems to be ever present in the General Assembly.
I got a feeling it will always be present.
Yeah, whether it's liquor liability, whether it's med mal, dram shop, there's always the markets are always showing us there's things that we can do to improve the environment in South Carolina for businesses. But we're going to have both sides of that conversation today. We've invited Krista Hinson with the Retail Association to come share her perspective and her members' perspective on how tort reform and that issue is constantly keeping her busy. We're also going to hear from Jim Sproat. He is an attorney out of Greenville, and he's going to give us sort of the trial attorney perspective.
Get both sides, one episode.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff going on with this episode. Like I said, our colleague and friend Jermaine Johnson will be here.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into the weeds a little bit on tort reform.
Yeah, we're not going in detail on everything that's happened so far this week because we've got furlough next week. So we're going to save that, and we're going to focus this on gubernatorial candidates and tort
issue of
reform.
tort reform. That's right. So thanks for joining us.
Low country to the upstate. This one's to the people. Stand up, South Carolina. It's our moment now.
That's a good custom song just for Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah, that's right.
That sounds good.
Welcome back to Pints and Politics. What is it, episode 86?
Yeah, I don't even know what episode we're going to stick this on to, but this is part of our governor series. You know,
Yes.
we wanted to try to get all the candidates on the show, just have a casual discussion. Wanted to introduce the candidates to the people, maybe let them in a little bit as a person, not just the candidate.
Right.
And so we've had our Lieutenant Governor Pam Yvette on, and now we wanted to welcome our colleague in the House,
Yes.
candidate for governor.
Yes.
For the Democratic nominee,
Yes.
Jermaine Johnson. Welcome.
Man, I appreciate y'all for having me on
Welcome
here,
on
man.
to Pints and Politics.
Yeah, man. I appreciate. Ain't no pints on here, bro.
Yeah, well, we are at the USC Social Media Lab.
Yeah.
So we are not able to consume any alcohol on
Well, I don't
campus.
condone underage drinking anyway. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, man, let's talk about you for a little bit, man. Introduce yourself to our two listeners.
Well, listen, man. I appreciate y'all for having me on here.
Yeah.
A lot of times I get requests to go speak to young people because of my story and my life story and everything I've had to overcome. And I'm not going to I'm not going to spend the entire time talking about my life story and everything. But most of my upbringing, it was marked with a lot of tumultuous stuff. The very first memory of my life, I tell people, is I remember my brother running away from home, and his best friend who helped him run away from home actually shot him and killed him. And that's how my life started, which is why I'm so trying to save lives of young people. Because my brother, he was 16 when he ran away from home, and about 6 months later, he was shot and killed right after his 17th birthday. And that kind of started my life. Most of my upbringing, I lived in motels. I slept on some of my friends' couches. I actually attended 7 different high schools. You know, I was a homeless high school student for a long time. I still ended up going to play basketball at the College of Charleston. And when I got to the College of Charleston, go Cougs, go Cougs.
My town.
Yeah, no, that's my town. But even at the College of Charleston, I was still considered a homeless student. Like Christmas and Thanksgiving, when teammates were going home for holidays and things like that, I was either in the dorm room or when the dorm room was closed, I slept in the locker room a couple of times.
Wow.
Still ended up graduating from College of Charleston after meeting my wife down there, who was a fan favorite from everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We love Evan.
Yeah, man. And got drafted to go play professional basketball in the NBA D-League. I had another older brother that was a good basketball player that did some time in prison. He came home. I helped him to get a contract with me in Mexico to play professional basketball. And in 2015, he got in a bad car accident with some of my friends, and they all passed away. Oh, and that's when I decided to retire from basketball and came home, got heavily involved. Ran for office in 2020. unseated a 22-year incumbent to become the first African American and the youngest representing my district, and I've been making waves ever since.
Wow, man. I mean, we know we all go through challenges in life, but those sound like most of those would have kept somebody down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's, whenever we had you on, and we got to know you whenever we came in as freshmen. And whether it's debates on the floor, like people just see clips,
Right.
and they don't get to know you as a person.
Right.
I can honestly say, everyone always wants to make everything partisan.
Right.
You're one of the people that we sat down with whenever we first come in. It's like, let's grab dinner.
Yeah.
We don't have to agree on things,
Yeah.
but let's talk about it. Why are you like this? And your story shows what type of man you are, and that resilience. And it is a powerful story.
Well, my life story has really shaped my outlook on life. And coming up, I don't want people to think that it's always been a situation where I've always been on one side. Because coming up, I had to receive help from all different types of people, Republicans, Democrats, independents, everybody, which is what has shaped my outlook in politics, of being able to sit down with Republicans, being able to sit down with Democrats, independents, or Green Party, anything like that. Because I believe I believe in the good of people. I believe people want to do what's good for people, but we have these outside forces that are continuing to divide us all and make us look at each other based on color, or make us look at each other based on sexuality, or gender, or whatever it is, and they continue to divide us.
Or political party.
Or political party.
Yeah.
And I think it's those issues that keep us looking at each other as enemies, and opponents. And I don't think we should be opponents. I think we should be coming together for the good of all people, man.
Yeah. And, we're talking about that, and I always look at that when I hear someone's running for an office. I always ask the question, are they trying to bring people together, or are they trying to separate us? You know what I mean? Are they trying to scare the hell out of you?
Right.
Or are they trying to actually bring folks together to try to find some common solutions to whatever's facing the state? And that's why I enjoy healthcare.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You and I have talked before. I'm like, hey, man, let's work together. It's a bipartisan issue, healthcare.
Right.
Because it affects all of us.
Yeah, my mom is suffering right now from dementia.
Mine too.
And she's got diabetes. She's had diabetes, pretty much all of my life. And last year she had her left leg amputated.
That's right.
And I had to go, be in the hospital with her. And then right after that, my father had a brain tumor, and I had to go out there for that, to support them as well. So healthcare is a big thing that affects everybody. It doesn't matter, what race, what you are. I mean, health is going to be something that's going to affect all of us at some point.
Yep,
Yes.
and I appreciated you joining the ad hoc committee to study and look at pharmacy benefit managers.
My wife is a pharmacist.
And I didn't even realize that. I just wanted you on, and we got to work together on that, and hopefully we're going to have a subcommittee in LCI after we get back from this furlough. But I mean, all the things that we learned just on that PBM of how it always seems that the little guy, whether it's the consumer, the patient, whatever you want to call them, they're always getting screwed, right? It's whether it's big insurance, big hospital systems, whatever. Right. The squeeze always gets, and the patient loses at every turn, and that's what frustrates me.
Well, the thing that we always have to remember is we don't represent companies. We represent people.
That's right.
And that becomes the crux sometimes of you want to help.
Right.
You need solutions. You need the expert's opinion. But at the end of the day, is it going to improve the lives?
But that's essentially my problem with government and how government works, is that the longer we take to address a problem, the more people are suffering.
Right.
And the bigger the problem grows, and we try to say that we need to focus on this issue or that issue, but is that issue that we're focusing on, is that the most important issue that the people of South Carolina are facing right now?
Right.
And I put a post out there the other day where I said I'm going to define the success of South Carolina going forward by how the people of South Carolina are doing. Not by how the businesses are doing, but how are the people? How are the mom and pops doing? How are the small businesses doing? How are these people doing? How is the single mother doing? Like, how are these people doing here in South Carolina versus big business who are hanging out on yachts right now? How are the regular people doing?
Right. All right, so let's get back to you for a second. So you've been in the House, 6 years?
6 years, yeah.
And what led you to make the choice? Because, let me frame this up a little bit, because you did go on social media. Maybe you were getting some pressure to not run, and which surprised me, right? I think that you're
Considering the only other candidate at the time was the guy streaking, like had a mental meltdown.
So can you walk us through or talk about that experience and then what finally led you to say, you know what, I'm putting my chips in the...
Yeah, where you've got power brokers that are out there, that are inside of politics that believe that you need to have this amount of money or you need to have this amount of whatever, and they believe that should be the defining factor. But we're seeing a mega shift in this country right now where people are saying, let's get money out of politics. Let's just get the best person to represent the people.
Right.
But you have a lot of this old guard that is still stuck in this traditional way. And I'm the young guy. I'm the guy who came in not answering to none of them. I didn't kiss any rings. I didn't do any of that type of stuff. I broke into this whole thing against the establishment. And then when I got in there, I still never took orders from none of them. They always tell you to sit down, do this, but whatever. I never listened to any of that. I wanted to represent the people. And I got out there, and now that I'm, a candidate for governor, the power broker still wanted to come in and say, hey, it ain't your time. You need to do this. You need to do that. But when the people of South Carolina got loud, oh man, they got loud, and they said, we want you, Jermaine, and they started saying things like, we're going to boycott the election, or we're not voting at all, and we're just going to do this, or I'm leaving the party, or I'm doing all this stuff.
Right.
And I thought to myself, I know this is an uphill battle. I know that. I'm not crazy. I'm not dumb. I know where we're at. And I know it's an uphill battle. But then I thought about all of those other candidates that are young like me, that are running and that truly want to do good things, that want to help people in South Carolina. And I said, if I don't run, if I'm not on this ballot, and all these people are going to say that they're not going to vote at all, it's going to hurt all of them. It's going to hurt the rest of the people of South Carolina. So I said, I'd rather stay in and lose to allow them to win versus me dropping out and not giving people that choice, but also having everybody else lose in the process.
Yeah.
So how can, you get the word out? So what's the next 30 days look like for you? Because, you've got a primary just like we do on June 9th.
June 9th, yeah. For me, it's just traveling all around the state, talking to people. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, man. I have no shortage of people reaching out saying, we want you to come here, we want you to come there, to speak for this and speak for that. I was going to ask my campaign manager, is this normal to have all these requests to go speak at places? So I'm just going to be everywhere. I'm going to be in churches and stuff like that.
Okay.
Just talking to people, letting people see me, because I don't know for how much longer I'm going to have this platform. And my main thing is getting in front of young people, to allow young people to see me and say, man, I can be like that guy. That guy's relatable. And politics for him is not like what we traditionally see on TV or on the internet. It's a different thing. It's a down-home guy. He's a regular guy. I want to be like that guy. So I just want to get in front of them as much as possible.
You said something, you were talking about politics being about money. And I say it all the time, coming down here, I think one of the problems we have in South Carolina is you have to be successful or financially stable in order to do this, because you don't get paid.
Right.
And
you mean you're not here for that $10,000 a year you get?
But the problem is I say it all the time, there's not enough people that really understand the impact of $20, $50 a month that cost that can be added to something.
Yes. Just one campaign sign is like $7. It's like $7 for one campaign sign. Yeah. And you have, thousands of people who are like, let me have a campaign sign. It's like, you realize that, like, if I have 1,000
for
people,
a $10 donation,
like over $7,000. It's like, man. So you try. It's hard, and the thing is, I understand that people right now are suffering. They're going through things. You see the gas prices. We see all this stuff, and it's hard to ask people for money when you know that they're suffering. But then you also have every other candidate in this race, on the Republican and Democrat side, are multimillionaires. They got millions of dollars to do these things, and it's hard, man. So I don't fault people for taking the money from other candidates. Do what you have to do. But when you go in that ballot box, there's nobody in there but you and Jesus. And you better push the right person on there, somebody who really cares about you.
Yep. All right, so let's be optimistic. Let's be hopeful.
Yep.
Jermaine Johnson's our next governor.
Yes, sir.
Have you thought about what you would want to do on day one?
Yes.
Have you?
Yes. Day one, I'm going to meet with the Republican caucus. Day one, because I want them to know I'm not your enemy. I'm not your enemy. I'm here to work alongside of you. I'm here to work with you. Because even if I am the governor, there's still a majority Republican Party in the House, still a majority Republican Party in the Senate. I want to meet with you on day one and say, how can I work with you? How can we work alongside?
Right.
I'm not here to cause chaos. I'm not here to destroy anything or anything like that. I want to make South Carolina better. And I think with somebody like me at the top, we can disrupt status quo. And we can have somebody who's saying, hey, maybe this money shouldn't go over there. Maybe it should go towards
Don't
the young
tempt
people.
us with a good time.
I'm telling you, listen, man. I mean, y'all know I'm all about bringing us together, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all about that.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to become California. I'm not here to become
Right.
New York or any of these other states, man.
I think you know, you and I like to get in. We are just mischievous by nature.
that's right, yeah.
And you know, some folks joke around, call me trouble. And maybe you and I share sort of that outlook or that approach because I didn't come up through the ranks.
Right.
I didn't do party politics. I didn't go to meetings. I didn't do any of that. I was in my community. I'm a business person, and I got asked,
Right.
have you ever considered running? Because you're just normal.
Yeah.
And I'm you know, I feel you, man. I'm the same way. I'm like, it doesn't, just because it's always been this way doesn't mean
Right.
it's the best or most
Correct.
efficient
Correct.
way. And I think there's a lot of us in our class. We had a very large class of 27, and that was Republicans and Democrats.
Yes.
The next class was like 19 or 20. This next term, between our class and down, we will have the majority of the House.
Yep.
And I think there's a clear break or divide between our class and down and the class that was
Old way and
that's
new
right.
way.
Yeah,
That's
well,
right.
that's how the Future Caucus got started. You know, the Future Caucus here in South Carolina, and for the people who are listening who don't know what that is about 40. I think it's 45 or 40, 45.
I mean, y'all couldn't make it 50 and under.
Yeah, I'm sorry, brother. But 45
It was
under
40, and then they made it 45.
Yeah,
Ages.
45 or something. Yeah, ages, man. But it's a bipartisan group of legislators coming together to pass common sense legislation and stuff that can work for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way that the General Assembly needs to move toward. It's like, all right, let's work together for the good of the people. I'm tired of hearing that stupid uniparty thing, you know,
Right.
that type of stuff. I mean,
Swamp.
Why, yeah,
Right.
all that stuff. Why would you not want your legislators to work together?
Correct.
They're not going to agree on everything, but there is a compromise that you can do for things.
Right.
You know, and
Well,
I
it's because
think that's good.
compromise is
Yeah.
so frowned upon, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute.
We're not at war with each other.
That's
We're
right.
on the same team.
You want to be working together
Right.
to advance the football.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean? To get to the next first down or whatever. And like you and I talked about this in the last episode, that non-compete debate
yeah.
It was great.
got the
Yes.
juices flowing, man. I
Yes.
mean, I'm working with Bamberg. I'm working with Jordan Pace. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't even know how you voted on that, but again, it broke down the partisan divides,
Yep. Yep.
and I saw it breaking down more urban versus rural.
Yep.
I would say
in a lot of-
That was it.
Yeah.
In that debate. It was urban versus rural.
Yeah.
Yep.
That debate, and then this week, the windshields.
Yes.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
the same thing.
Yes. Now I am on record. See, listen, I was in committee and I told them in committee, I said,
Yeah.
this is a bad idea. And I put it on record 3 different times. And I
did.
said, I looked at the cameras and I said, this is a bad idea. I don't believe this is going to work here in South Carolina. Why are we going to punish the people of South Carolina
Yeah.
with this windshield situation?
Yeah.
And then when it came up, I went to Herb Kirschman. I said, didn't I tell you? I told you it was going to happen. You know, and they
It was
were
only
oh,
like
yeah.
2 hours of debate
Yeah,
time.
that's
Yeah.
minimum.
And it was wild because again, it's
Joe
you know,
White leading.
You got a Joe White and a
Freedom Caucus
Bamberg,
leading it, man.
and you know me, Todd,
Yeah.
me, you, Carla.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah.
That is the great thing about being up front.
Yep.
Is because when bills get presented, and LCI comes rolling 10 deep.
Yeah, bro.
You know,
LCI All-Star.
That's how we roll, bro.
it's like we have no confidence in Gary Brewer, so we will yank him for a sub if he messes up. Just kidding, Brewer. Just keep eating that banana with a spoon.
Yeah.
But no, man. So yeah, I appreciate your words there. I appreciate your approach to things. I've always thought you don't care about party. It's more like on an issue-based type thing. You might get pissed off every now and again at us, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
But you'll let us know.
I'll let y'all know. Yeah. And that's the thing I want people to know. Like, I don't talk behind anybody's back. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. You know how I feel about something. You know how I feel about you.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about the issue. I don't hide stuff. I don't play games. I don't play politics
No.
with people's lives. Y'all know me. It's like, you know, that's the way I feel.
y'all two are similar that way.
Yeah.
You know how y'all feel. Your
Yeah.
heart's on your sleeve.
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. But I know, like, if Jermaine, if I say something or do something, he gives that
Listen, I almost got at him the other day. I ain't
Oh,
gonna
he
tell you
about
the
lit
other
me
day,
up.
but I almost got him the other day, and I went over to him after. I said, "Ooh, I almost got you. I almost got you, Guffey, but I ain't do it. I didn't do it, man."
Well, man, that's awesome. Jermaine, tell us about how folks can get a hold of you.
Well, listen.
how for your folks who are sporting.
Yeah.
Before we do that, I want to point out something else, though, because one of the things that I do love, age, the way the state is, the future, talking about the next generation, setting South Carolina up for the next generation. You're one of the few people that actually understand the tech industry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And understand the importance of what's moving forward. And that was one of the first things that we kind of connected on in the house. So for those of you that don't know, reach out to Jermaine Johnson, and how can they get a hold of you?
Yes. So if they want to reach out, they can go to johnsonforsc.com. That's just my last name, FORSC.com. And you can click on the volunteer, or you can click on the contact us link,
or the donate,
or the donate link. That's the most important link. Click on that donate link. $1, $2, $5, whatever you can spare.
And order you a sign.
And definitely order you a sign, because, like I said, $7 a sign. So I can't give them for free. So give me at least $7 to pay for that sign, and we'll be all right.
Well, you got your Democratic primary. Then you got the general. From everything, I don't know how money buys things across the state in the Democratic Party, but I do know name recognition and respect amongst people within the state. I would say you're the top contender on the Democratic side. So
I appreciate that.
We appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. And good luck to you next 65, 70 days.
Something like that, bro.
We'll know something.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate
Thank you.
This episode of Pints of Politics is brought to you by Comer Distributing. Comer Distributing Company is a wholesale beer distributor located in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Founded in 1971, Comer is a family-owned business that distributes beer and other beverages to York, Chester, Fairfield, Lancaster, Kershaw, Lexington, and Richland counties.
Politics. No script, no filter, no apologies.
I just had to hit the pause instead of scrolling down. Welcome back. Episode 86, Pints and Politics. We're doing guest episodes.
Yeah, that's right.
We are in the USC Social Media Lab.
Yeah, in the School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Thanks for hosting.
Absolutely. We have continued our gubernatorial interviews, so to say. So we are on, and now we're going to be talking about the issues.
Yeah. So we wanted to have a couple of folks on who I wouldn't maybe call them experts, but I would give them more credit that they're smarter than we are. And so we wanted to have some folks.
That's a low bar for me sometimes.
We wanted to have some folks who could speak to some of the issues. We always talk about tort reform, right? Whether it's liquor liability, med mal, and all these things. And so we wanted to have both sort of sides of that issue. We wanted we welcome Krista Hinson in from the Retail Association. She's going to educate us on all things tort reform from, say, the small business and the large business perspective, and talk about those challenges and why we need tort reform, right?
Yes.
And then later on, we're going to have a friend, Jim Sproat, who is an attorney out of Greenville, and he's sort of going to give the victims of, or the representation from, say, the trial lawyers, and why they would welcome some tort reform, but they want to maybe have some more reasonable collaborative efforts, let's call them. So we welcome Krista Hinson. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so tell our two listeners about tort reform.
Your two listeners. Well, hello, two listeners. I'm Krista Hinson, first of all, as you said. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I represent the Retail Association, which includes retailers of all sizes and types across all of South Carolina. The retail industry supports 1 in every 4 jobs in the state. So it's a huge industry, a lot of employment, a lot of customers, obviously, and being very public and open and available puts us at a lot of exposure for lawsuits, as you can imagine. So tort reform is one of our top priority.
Reminds me of the scene in Friday where he slips my neck and my back.
Yep. Exactly. That's a member of the Retail Association, the store owner.
Sorry, just painted the image in my head.
Very quickly evolving here. I love it.
Today's your birthday? What day is it?
Why are you still in cardboard boxes for? You gonna build a clubhouse?
All right.
Keep it together. Okay.
So,
it is a top priority of the association and our members because, as you mentioned, I've got small retailers, I've got big retailers in the association. I've got some that only operate one store, some that operate many in South Carolina, some that operate across a few states, some that operate in all the states. So we have a lot of different perspectives on the lawsuit and legal environment in South Carolina.
And it is, I got to meet Krista being on the medical subcommittee, and I remember when she first came up and said, hey, you have this bill, and some of my members may have some questions about it. And I said, wait, you're a retail association, right? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, what, medical? And she was like, CVS, Publix Pharmacy. And I'm like, oh,
Yes.
I mean, so a lot of her stuff is all over committees.
Yeah.
I mean, you're giving testimony in, say, judiciary, 3M, LCI. I mean, you cover.
Everywhere. And that's the thing. We have a lot of different issues because, like you said, we have retail pharmacy, we got grocery, we got technology, we got clothing, we got
gas stations, right?
Yeah, we got people who sell alcohol. Now we have people who sell hemp drinks, so that we're in all the debates. But the one common thing, maybe not the only common thing, but the main common advocacy issue we have is tort reform. All of them are interested in doing some sort of tort reform or some sort of lawsuit reform, if you will. And that's a huge term, right? So when we say tort reform, I think there's a lot of different things that come to mind. Joint and several is a term we hear a lot, which is, basically who pays and how much. If you're responsible at all, do you pay for the whole thing? If you're responsible at all, do you pay for your share? And there's different states do it differently in that regard. And so that is a huge issue that we would like to continue to work on.
How does business look at South Carolina compared to, say, our southeastern neighbors, like in North Carolina or Georgia? Where do we?
Do you want me to tell you the truth?
Yes, 100%.
We are worse than our neighbors when it comes to the legal environment for businesses. North Carolina, it has a lot of what I would call, they have pretty comprehensive tort reform done. So they're a true.
And Georgia just passed.
Comprehensive. That's very new, so we're still seeing some of those go into effect. But with the passage of their huge tort reform bill at a couple years ago, I think we are now what I would say on kind of an island in the Southeast for what our laws.
And why is that? Because the perception is that South Carolina is a very business-friendly state. So, do you have anything to attribute that to? I mean, what is it?
Well, I mean, our laws are one thing, that they allow for lawsuits to be brought against certain parties. Y'all did make some updates to the joint and several statute last year.
Right.
And so we're still kind of seeing how those are going to play out. There were a lot of exceptions to those changes, though, that you made, and we've talked about that, my members, the retailers, feel like a lot of the lawsuits brought against them are going to fall into those exceptions, and so they won't see the benefits of some of the changes you made in terms of allocating fault, allowing a jury to allocate fault fairly to different parties, and then paying your fair share of that verdict. So we will see, I guess, over time how that plays out. I think that's one case. You mentioned slip and falls.
Yes.
We do see a lot of slip and fall cases, and we had some members in town this week, and one of them mentioned, people sure seem to slip and fall a lot in South Carolina. It's interesting. I don't know what's going on down there, and so do people slip and fall here more? I don't know. Or do they just sue more? I don't know.
was walking to an event last night, and Tommy Pope was walking with me. And we were talking, I was talking about staying in between the lines whenever you cross the street.
Crosswalk, yep.
And he's like, yeah. And I was like, having a roommate down here that's an attorney in David Martin, he's always pointing out these things. It's like, it's funny how attorneys are so risk adverse. and Tommy starts saying, as a solicitor, I was crime adverse. I'm seeing where crimes can happen everywhere, anywhere.
Oh, right.
And as we're walking towards the Palmetto Club, he's like, but as an attorney, I'm looking saying, man, this sidewalk surely is uneven. These big cracks, that's going to cause someone to fall and get hurt around here. And he's like, so you just start looking at things completely different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the things yesterday, meeting with QT came into South Carolina. And as they were talking, one of the things that they were talking about was the amount of lawsuits. 40% of all of their lawsuits come out of South Carolina.
Well, I'm gonna caveat that. Not all their lawsuits, all of their one type of lawsuits.
Oh.
And that was alcohol related.
Gotcha.
But coming out of South Carolina versus it was 4% or something of their stores were actually here.
Yes.
So whenever they're looking at expanding, you're like, do we really want to expand?
Yeah, they're always weighing pros and cons as businesses. And I mean, businesses are still moving here. We have a huge growing population. It's not that it is just become a dead zone for businesses, but with businesses moving here and people moving here, we would like to see on the business side, we're not asking total immunity. We're not asking for flipping all the way in the other direction like some states have gone. We'd like to see a more fair allocation of fault amongst whoever is responsible. If you're responsible for 50%, you pay 50%. If you're responsible 10%, you pay 10%.
Right.
And to make sure that that is fairly allocated across all lawsuits.
Right.
I think, you all did some stuff on liquor liability. Dram shop was brought up a lot last year too. But there are so many aspects of our tort laws, if you will.
Right.
You filed a bill with several others related to product defects, right? And so in South Carolina, the seller is responsible. If they sold the product and it had a defect and that defect caused damages, the seller is fully responsible. There doesn't have to be negligence or intent there. More than half of the other states have laws that more or less protect retailers in those positions and say, you aren't responsible unless you did do something wrong, unless you did have a hand in creating the defect, you knowingly sold the product. I think talking with some folks, if there's a recall out and you ignore the recall and continue to sell,
Then
that is
you're-
some negligence on your part,
Right.
right? So there's some areas there where our laws are different than all of our neighbors and a lot of the other states. And so we'd like to see a lot of conversations happen. And I think one of the big, if we're even zooming out a little bit more, big picture questions is who should pay and how much?
Right.
There are a few different schools of thought on that, right? So one would say the plaintiffs should be paid. It doesn't matter who pays them. We'll find somebody to pay them, and they should be paid. There's another school that would say, tough luck, can't get paid. Sorry that happened to you, right?
Right.
And then there's the middle ground that says you should pay for your share in that. And I think that's where our folks would fall. They're not trying to get out of lawsuits altogether.
Right.
They're just trying to make sure that fault is allocated fairly and they're treated fairly given their opportunity to present the whole picture and
Yep.
all of the information. to the jury.
And that's that product liability bill. It does get problematic in talking with, say, a David Martin or a Val Guest, some attorneys in the chamber. We talk about, so if you go into Home Depot and buy a ladder and you open up the box, pull the ladder out, and you fall and you hurt yourself. In talking with some of the attorneys, they said, well, you can bring in the Home Depot, but most courts would say, look, that box, Home Depot did not do anything with it. All they did is put on the shelf. So any reasonable court would throw that out. And then the person making the claim would have to go find the manufacturer. And I said, okay, the manufacturer of the ladder is in Illinois. He goes, yep, that would.
Or China.
They'd go after him then. Right. That's where it gets problematic, is what happens when it's offshore, right? And again, the question I'm asking for is the victim, right? How do they get made whole if, it's in some shady business in Vietnam?
Well, and that's a question that maybe deserves to have a public conversation about what we want the policy of our state to be is
Right.
if you can't collect from the manufacturer because they're a shady business in Vietnam,
Yep.
should you be able to collect from a local retailer who didn't do anything wrong?
Right.
And
Well, other than buy products from a shady
other than be a retailer. Well, let's take the shady part out of it, right? I mean, things happen all the time, right? But if there is negligence or there is intent or there is knowingly selling these products, I think that would be a very valid, I'm not going to say you shouldn't be able to bring a case against a retailer in that case. But I think that it's worth having the conversation about whether or not our local retailers, our local businesses should be in a position to be paying for other people's actions just because you can't collect from the other people.
Well, I know as I've been looking at the tech bills and I keep going back, I'm not trying to open everything up for everyone to get sued, but I think that there has to be some way to go after for private right of action whenever they are grossly negligent. And I understand that's a high bar to fill, but as we have, as discovery has shown, where they're fully aware and they continue to accelerate and continue to do these things, those are perfect examples where I don't think that's as hard to show.
Right.
As opposed to just going after companies for anything and everything. I was completely, especially whenever I talk about whenever I first got elected to county council, I used to argue with our friend Joel Hamilton that was on there at the time. And I would tell him, lawyers are the problem with politics. And then we get in there, and the first time we have to go into executive session, And he's writing everything down. I'm like, man, I'm glad you know what you're doing. He's like, still think we don't need attorneys? I was like, no, we need a few. And then as I got involved and I started getting more involved, I completely understand it. And then with me having a lawsuit myself, I'm understanding all sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to be clear. I know that it often becomes trial lawyer versus insurance and, who is really the bad guy. I'm not here to defend or attack either one of those professions. I think that they all play a role. And, I represent business and the people who own those businesses and the people who work for those businesses and shop at those businesses. So, I think it's important to remember that if this is trial lawyer versus insurance, then the people and the businesses lose, right? And whoever wins in that fight,
right.
the rest of us are paying for it, right? So,
Yep.
I don't want to get caught up in that kind of debate, but I do think there's definitely a lot of bad actors in every field, right? A lot, maybe.
100%.
There are some bad actors in every field, and they should be held accountable.
Yeah.
They should be held responsible.
Okay, so we've talked about product liability. Share with the audience any other efforts that you've got going on.
Yeah, there's a lot. So I mentioned joint and several, and you all did some work on that last year. We would like to continue that conversation to see about
Getting
the
a little
exceptions. More? Well, no, not necessarily a little more. The exceptions that were put into the law last year had a stated intent publicly, and it appears that their effect is broader than the stated intent. So we'd like to revisit that conversation and see if we can continue
Clarify.
that to see if there's a way to narrow them to meet their stated intent without kind of swallowing the rule, if you will. Dram shop is something that a lot of the folks I mentioned that I represent sell alcohol, but for off-premises consumption.
Right.
They're being sued as well for selling alcohol in DUI cases and things like that. It's a very different situation, but they're being sued a lot, and our current laws allow them to be sued even if they checked IDs, if the person didn't appear intoxicated. There's not a clear standard of visible intoxication
Right.
For them to rely on.
Now, does a jury end up deciding on that, or is it typically
here's
just a
the problem.
judge?
A lot of times the folks settle. It doesn't even get to that point.
It depends. Yeah, it depends on the situation.
You know?
And then there's that situation. I mentioned the product defect cases, and you mentioned something earlier, and maybe that's true, but the law that we have on the books clearly and specifically holds sellers accountable. So if a court is throwing out a case against a seller, it's not consistent with the law that's on the books in South Carolina right now.
Oh, gotcha. On the product liability.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's premises liability. So slip and falls would be a premises case. Something happened on your property. But premises liability would also include negligent security. If somebody, let's use an example of a diner that's open 24 hours a day. I won't name any names. People might be drunk at 2
We
in
all
the
love the
morning.
Waffle House.
That's my Saturday stop now in Callahan.
Getting a little tiff in the parking lot, but they're on the premises and they.
Hey,
they
Waffle
might-
House, reach out to Tad for sponsorship if you need.
Y'all are going to get me in trouble. But, there's situations like that where that would be a negligent security claim against the business, even though they had nothing to do with two drunk patrons or not drunk, you don't have to be drunk.
So a fight in the parking lot at 2
Right.
a.m.
You ain't from Rock Hill if you ain't got in a fight in the Waffle House parking lot.
I'm not from Rock Hill, so I can't speak.
Hey, did you sue the Waffle House then? That's what she
Nah.
said.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
It's
not,
my
not
mouth
here
that caused me to get punched, not the Waffle House.
Well, I appreciate your personal responsibility. Thank you for taking that.
It wasn't the smothered and
responsibility
covered.
there.
Yeah. I got fat and happy off that waffle and just couldn't shut up.
So that is a situation that, we'd like to take a look at that as well and put just a little more clarity in the law to make sure that both sides, the businesses and the victims, the plaintiffs, if you will, and premises liability doesn't have to be a business. It could be a property owner, right? It's not just a business. And so that there's clarity about who's responsible and when and to what degree, right?
Okay. And that seems like common sense to me, right? But then I know we're going to have on Jim as our next guest, and then he's going to give us the other side. And it's like, damn it, I thought that was common sense. And there's more to it.
Well, so there's a lot more things. I know you and I have talked about a lot of them, but for example, medical expenses in when they're a damage in any kind of civil claim. Right now in South Carolina, this isn't a law; it's part of the judicial procedures, but they get to hear the total charges brought. But we all know you do medical work a lot. That's not often or almost ever the actual amount that somebody had to pay or their insurance paid on behalf of them.
Right.
And a lot of other states around us now have updated their laws to allow the jury to hear that as well.
Actual
so they have
out-of-pockets and-
actual payments by or on behalf of the plaintiff instead of just charges. And so that could be a little bit different. That could be very different, the
Right.
charges versus payments. And so I think that kind of transparency, we'd like to have a little bit more transparency in our
I mean, we
lawsuits as
can't
well.
even have transparent billing.
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, tell me when you go to a doctor's office, they can tell you that'll be $50,
Yeah.
you know, or whatever. I mean,
There's
but-
some new fee every time I go to the doctor that they're adding on now.
Yeah.
I guess it's not part of insurance, just a fee for like showing up.
Network
then you get
fee.
hit something.
You're paying, yeah.
They're all learning from the PBMs.
And I mean, you all passed just last week a med mal bill that you were referencing earlier, and a bill about time-limited settlement demands and bad faith claims against insurance.
On Tiger River
Yes,
stuff.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's just so many aspects of our tort. So when we talk about tort reform, and I think the big one that a lot of people think of is joint and several, right?
Yeah.
But there are so many other aspects that are where almost all of them on the side of the business would say that after Florida and Georgia and North Carolina and our other neighboring states have enacted pretty comprehensive tort reform legislation in the last couple of years, we are an outlier in almost all of those areas.
Well,
Go ahead.
I know from, whenever the bars and restaurants started having trouble and complaining about insurance rates going through the roof, goes back to 2017, us putting in the mandatory coverage. But we also know through a friend of ours that was involved in a lawsuit against a bar that, win the lawsuit, but then there's no property.
Right.
You're
nothing.
confiscating alcohol to try
yeah.
and pay a bill.
Right.
And that's about it. But that's one of those situations. And, I say it because I heard it before about everyone wants tort reform until it happens to your family. In a situation like that, if the bar was really responsible, this is someone who died on the premises, then, that family should be able to find some way. And there's got to be more common sense. Now, you hear the stories about somebody getting one drink here, 10 over here, and then they go after the one the same way that they went after the other without letting anyone know that they've already got a settlement from this one or that one.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think, so a lot of the insurance related stuff you did last year was very specific to on-premises liability, right? And I do have some members who sell alcohol for on-premises consumption, but most of the retailers would sell it for off-premises. But it's the same.
Talking about Walmart.
We don't need to name
just
names. We don't need to name any names.
You can't drink a beer while you're shopping at Walmart. That's Lowe's Whole Foods.
All right. But,
Check it out. Lowe's Whole Foods. I'm serious.
Oh, sorry.
I know. There's a lot of them.
They
They're a lot
have
of
a
fun.
bar on premise, and you can drink Prosecco, ladies, while you're shopping for.
Yeah.
I was just joking about
No.
making another Rock Hill joke.
That's a real thing.
It doesn't count if you bring your own, Guffey.
They don't know.
True.
You
What's
just take
in the
those
cup? You don't
those
know.
smiley face stickers and stick
That's
them on your
true.
can.
Oh boy.
But, so a lot of those changes y'all made last year didn't have an impact on the lawsuits being brought against the off-premises folks. And I will say, even whether it's on-premise or off-premise, of my membership, for the most part, they're either self-insured or they're buying a lot more than the minimum coverage because that's how much their exposure is. And so, it's not necessarily for them a matter of we want to buy less insurance because the premium's so high. It's we'd like to get sued less when we didn't do anything wrong so that we don't have to buy so much insurance,
Right.
so that we don't have to pay so much. So we would like clear rules so that we know if we act this way, we are, in compliance with the law and we won't have a lawsuit brought against us.
Yeah. And I think general rule of thumb, because I'm not an attorney, is I want the folks who are responsible to be held liable. And I know that seems a simple thing, but it's not, right? Because that's why we're having these debates in the House and in the Senate. So are you hopeful? Anything left to do as far as any legislation?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things out there and a lot of conversations being had. Like I mentioned, you all just passed a couple pieces. And it's interesting. We saw Georgia a couple years ago pass a very comprehensive tort reform bill, which comprehensive tort reform is a lot of the things I just mentioned, all of them in one bill, one big
Yeah, that
beautiful
was
bill.
that was Senate Bill 244.
Exactly. So, well, and that's what I'm saying. So the Senate's approach is trying to do it comprehensive, the same way that Georgia did it,
Right.
and a couple other states have done it. The House's approach is we want to take these one bite at a time, one issue at a time, and narrowly focus on that at the time. And I could sit here, we could have a whole debate on the pros and cons of each of those approaches.
Right.
Not even policy inside of it. But so you all passed those two bills I mentioned earlier, Med-Mal and Bad Faith. And so there are a lot of ongoing conversations, my members with your leadership, my members with you all, me with all of those people, on both sides of the lobby. And so I think we're hopeful that those conversations will continue. There have been bills, like I mentioned, introduced in both chambers that people are adding their names as sponsors all the time. And
Right.
I think that's showing their support and understanding for the ongoing need for discussion and the ongoing need for conversation and doing something
Right.
to address the issue.
Right.
Am I realistically hopeful that we're going to pass much of it this year? No. Outside of what you all have already worked on. But,
Right.
we want to make sure those conversations are ongoing. And if the opportunity arises
Yep.
for, say, a visible intoxication standard on dram shop, which is
Yeah.
what the Senate passed last year, that there's opportunities to include that in other bills or debates, like we'd love to have that opportunity. But we also
Yeah.
want to keep the conversation going because while y'all have general elections coming up,
Yeah.
hopefully you'll be back here next year, or somebody will be back here next year, and the work on the laws keeps going, and we want to keep having those conversations so that
Yeah.
if and when the environment is ready and we're, have an opportunity to make some of those changes, my members' issues and all the other business community issues
Right.
are part of the discussion.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having
This is
me.
important discussions that we'll be having, not just on the podcast, but also in the House and Senate chambers, I'm sure. So,
Well, and Krista, I love you. Seem to educate. We don't always agree on things, but you always can educate me on where something came from, why it's there, and why it's needed. And so I love that you are so knowledgeable. So many different industries. I don't know how you keep up with it
yeah,
all.
right. And she's not even an attorney.
Yeah,
So, but yeah,
I
thanks for
didn't know
joining
that.
us.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
We ain't pundits, we ain't pilots. We ain't here to babysit that ideas. This is dog-bone accountability.
All right, continuing this conversation on tort reform, man, and we've brought in our Jim Sproat's going to represent the attorney side, right?
Yeah, I
From
guess
that
so.
perspective.
Big bad trial lawyers.
Big
right?
bad trial lawyers. Yeah, I feel like I'm the evil guy in the room already. Just
Well, we'll see.
I'm still on the show. You're good.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, absolutely. So my name's Jim Sproat. I work out of Greenville, South Carolina. I'm an attorney for injured parties in all sorts of different actions, whether it be workers' comp or corporate liability. I don't handle as many car wreck cases these days, but ultimately. I represent the victims of those same things as they tend to happen.
All right, and you're speaking on behalf of your law firm, right? You're representing.
Yeah, 100%. No, my views are my own.
right. And so when we talk about tort reform, again, coming from my business experience, our prior guest, Krista Hinson, that's music to my ears, right? I'm like, look, we've got to cut down on that crap. We've got to take out the frivolous lawsuits because those, in effect, cost not only the business, but then maybe the consumer as well, right, as those costs get passed down. And so, but give us the other side of that, the folks who fall, the folks who, I'm not talking about deficient ladders all day, but you know what I mean? Like, give us some of that side of it.
Well, it's actually funny you mentioned deficient ladders because I've had that case.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where so there was a company that was making ladders that they moved into different forms. Ultimately, the ladder collapsed. The guy got hurt really bad. He couldn't work again. He was in his 40s, was unable to work again, was a paraplegic after it happened. And, the goal was, well, so how do you help this guy just live the rest of his life? It's not about, I hear the term jackpot justice a lot. And it's not about that. It's about, hey, man, this guy's going to need medical care for, 40 years.
Yeah.
How are we going to pay for that? And part of the problem I think we run into on those victims, to be quite honest with you, is if there is not a recovery, if there is not a place for them to get the money from, ultimately what ends up happening is those people become a ward of the state, right? Because Medicaid pays for it,
right?
Medicare pays for it, Social Security Disability pays for it, so your tax dollars pay for it instead. And is that really what we want? And the flip side, and I apologize, but the flip side of the first part of that was, I think it's a balancing act between completely chilling all lawsuits for negligence or for gross negligence or for recklessness and eliminating the frivolous lawsuits. Because I don't disagree that frivolous lawsuits make all us attorneys look bad.
Right.
You know, so we would love to see the frivolous lawsuits go away. But
Yep.
how do you do that without the chilling effect of keeping people who don't have, they don't have the money to go hire an attorney by the hour. So they have to find somebody who's going to be able to find coverage somewhere, or they're going to be able to find money somewhere to pay not only for them, but the attorney that they have to hire too.
Yeah. As I'm suing Meta,
Yeah.
it was very difficult trying to find an attorney that says I can put in this amount of time, because they're not guaranteed that they're going to get paid. They've got to be able to have the workforce. They're putting up all the work up front. And if nothing ever happens with it, then they're just out the money.
That's right. That's right. And I think kind of the other thing I think a lot of people forget too is that most attorneys, not all of them, there's a couple of kind of big ones, but most attorneys are small business owners. I mean, we're also small business owners.
Right.
And we're worried about those things. We're worried about higher insurance costs. We have to pay those on behalf of our employees.
Right.
So I don't think we're deaf to, the argument that, hey, something needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with a lot of what you guys say on your podcast. A conversation needs to happen.
Right.
You can't just railroad it in or, completely eliminate something. You got to talk about it first and figure out what the best way forward is.
Whenever we talk about frivolous lawsuits, I remember my early 20s. The one that was always in the headlines was the McDonald's cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, man, this is a frivolous lawsuit. This is the reason we don't do it. While I was doing advertising, one of my clients did mock trials. And I got selected to be part of one of their mock trials. And as I'm sitting there and I had to go through all the details of that case, it was like, whoa, McDonald's should have been held liable. Like they were holding, making the coffee so much hotter
100%.
to make people sit there for 15 minutes. And then it causes third-degree burns and permanent damage. And it's like,
Right. When you
But
peel
the
back a little
headline
bit of
just
the layers,
says-
right. That's buried in like the 18th paragraph of that article. That
it wasn't even in the article, I don't think. I mean, we're a headline society.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's the one that, and I still have people that will comment about spilling coffee on your lap.
That's right.
Like maybe you shouldn't put coffee in your lap. Understandable, but it shouldn't be that hot to where it's going to cause skin to peel off and permanent damage.
Yeah,
and
right.
I would say to a person, the people who hear the entire story of that lawsuit in that case go, yeah, that woman probably deserved to get that money. And McDonald's definitely deserved to get held liable for that particular case because it was horrific. But yeah, you're right. It gets used all the time for an example of a frivolous lawsuit.
Now, in these lawsuits, are you dealing with a jury?
Yes.
Are you having to convince a jury?
So I'll say my practice is split between workers' compensation, which is an administrative process, right? So there is no jury in that.
Okay.
And then the other half of my practice is to a jury. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, do you have to deal with insurance a lot of times?
100%.
Talk about the experience with insurance companies. What are some of the things that you see that, look, if insurance companies would do this better or this better, it wouldn't, do you see delay tactics? Do you see things that are costing the system to where it takes it, you know what I mean? You incur costs. The family's out the whole time where you're facing these delays. So talk to us about some of those frustrations that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'll tell you, it is insurance companies across the board. It's not one single type of insurance company that really causes the problem. And I see difficulties with health insurances. I see difficulties with commercial general policies. I see difficulties with, car insurance policies, workers' compensation insurance policies. And it's a lot of it is delay tactics. A lot of it is discovery obstruction. So it's trying not to hand over documents that 100% they need to hand over. And a judge is going to tell them to hand it over anyways, but they're still trying not to hand them over, Guffey, I'm sure you ran into that.
Yes.
Dealing with Meta to where they weren't going to hand it over.
Hiding behind Section 230.
100%. And it took a judge telling them they had to turn it over.
Right.
And that's what we run into a lot is, I may have, if I've got somebody, my gentleman that fell off a ladder, for example, if I've got somebody that really hurt themselves, you're delaying justice. And, as the axiom goes, delayed justice is justice denied. I screwed that up, but something along those lines.
Right.
Justice delayed is justice denied. But then, on the back end of that, it's health insurance companies too. So
Don't get me started.
Man, I go and I spend my time, and I have some cases where I'm literally collecting for the health insurance company because they want to get paid back. So they're not providing an attorney to go do this or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But we have a subrogation statute in South Carolina that says if they put me on notice, well, we have a statute, and then we have kind of the rules of ethics that the lawyers have to abide by that say if they put me on notice that they have to be paid back, I got to pay them back, and the client's got to pay them back out of their settlement.
Right.
And there are times where they're saying, "Look, we want all of it. Your client gets nothing. We want every penny." And I have to go fight the health insurance company to be like, no, this guy was the one that got hurt. Right. He deserves to get something out of it.
He actually suffered the physical damage.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow, really?
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. So, there's a lot of that stuff going around as far as just, it seems like a fight on all sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, when I initially ran for this office, I didn't know if I knew I was signing up for all this. You know what I mean? Full disclosure, man. It's just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And that's the frustrating part for me is that I always like to assume or give grace, right? But when I hear about these things, whether it's health insurance or whether it's PBMs or whether it's the trial attorneys, like, man, just do the right thing, man. And I would be hopeful that an insurance company, if there's a claim brought against them, Jim, you're representing them, they would sit around a table and say, hey, look, we get it, and expedite those things and give relief, and then close it and go on to the next one. Why don't they?
So I will tell you the same thing I tell all my clients. And this is literally part of my standard canned speech at the beginning of every case.
Right.
Insurance companies only make money in two ways. They charge higher premiums and they deny claims. They don't have any other way to make money. So that's what they have to do. And some of them by law have to do that because they have stockholders, right? So they have an affirmative duty to their stockholders to make money. Mm-hmm. And if the only way they have to make money is charge higher premiums and deny claims, guess what they're going to do? They're going to charge higher premiums and deny claims.
Well, I went to an insurance event last night, and I was talking to many of the brokers out there.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about some of the tort reform, I said, look, insurance is essentially hedging your bet.
Yeah, it's pricing risk.
I'm putting money to say you're not going to get hurt. I'm not going to have to spend this.
You're not going to get in a car accident.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you're there, and I use that in the argument as they were trying to put in to mandate windshields for everyone after we removed it, going through the entire insurance subcommittee. And I call it windshield welfare. You get a windshield, you get a windshield, you get a windshield. And then how do you expect insurance companies not to raise rates? And they're talking about some windshields are $17,000. Like, how do you expect people? Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
That's just on that VW EV,
Yeah. It better be one of them Teslas, like showing me a movie that nobody can tell.
Yeah, that's right.
Or something.
That's right. But again, that brings me back and it reminds me that all of these issues aren't just a black and a white or a right and a wrong, right? There's a lot of gray here. There's a lot of nuances. And that's why this job in the House, and I'm sure your profession in the legal field, just needs good people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and go to work, right? And man,
I remember whenever Heath and we went down for Gary Brewer's campaign kickoff, a year and a half ago, and we happened to go out to this little mom and pop bar in Somerville. We had like a little party bus carrying us around.
Montana's is not in Somerville.
Where is it? Goose Creek.
Yeah, it's Berkeley County, baby.
All right. Well, I don't know. We was riding with a disco ball in the back. I couldn't tell exactly where we were. But as soon as we walked in, we end up having the bar owner come up and start talking to us about the situation.
Filling our ear about
But it was like them not having any claims. And yet their rates are going up so high, they can't operate. And, it's the situations where you hear, and I often say, I've never met a broke insurance broker, and I've never met a broke attorney, but I've met plenty of broke business owners that are just trying to get by.
Well, I will tell you that I've met a number of broke attorneys, and for the first probably 10 years I was in practice, I was a broke attorney.
And the more broke you are, the less people want to hire you.
100%. If you go in an ill-fitting suit, nobody wants to hire you to go in the courtroom and represent them. It's a vicious cycle.
The Matlock.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I agree with you in that it makes sense. Like the common sense stuff, you have to do it. The problem is, I think what we run into is that it's more nuanced than that. It's always more nuanced than that.
100%.
There's something else going on that we're probably not thinking about, and any individual. Lawyers, we probably miss half of it too. But listening to everybody and making sure that all the stakeholders get in the room and make the decisions, which is what it sounds like you guys do on a pretty regular basis. I mean, that's the way to do it.
We try to.
I think our fear, well, at least my fear as a lawmaker, is getting these cumbersome bills, the massive, as you heard our previous guests say, like one big beautiful bill and everything's all in there. It becomes very difficult to understand, and yet attorneys are so used, or even companies, and I see it with the tech, to where there's just little subtle words within the language of a bill that they want to change. And if you're not an attorney that's dealing with that, you're not catching on to what's happening. And that becomes the fear of, okay, did we work this hard for this bill, but yet this one little sentence just screwed the entire thing up?
That's right.
Are we going to make a difference? We passed the dram shop, and yet we're still hearing bars complain about they can't afford insurance.
And I'll say I don't practice. I have not handled any dram shop cases. Like, it's just not been something I've done. I've worked on a few, but haven't handled any on my own. But I will say that I think the deal with the dram shop is, there were changes made last year. We are just now 4 months into the year. I mean, I think it may take some time for us to see any, if there are frivolous lawsuits being, brought, for instance, like maybe that chills some of those frivolous lawsuits, right? But the one thing that I haven't seen, and we didn't hear any of it last year, because I did at least hear the debate about it, was that insurance prices have not gone down. And I don't know that they're going to at any point, even with the tort reform stuff. To me, a lot of what we're talking about sounds more like an insurance problem than a tort reform problem. And that's, granted, it's bias, and I understand that. But nonetheless, it seems like this is more an issue with the insurance or industry than it is with trial lawyers. Although I know it's a lot of fun to point the finger at trial lawyers. I get it. We're an easy group to pick on.
It goes both ways.
It does.
It's back and forth across the aisle.
You heard me. My immediate response was, this is the insurance, not the trial lawyers. And that's okay. But anyways, my point is that, it's probably, maybe it's both. I don't know. But it doesn't seem like we've done a whole lot.
More than one thing can be true.
That's right. Absolutely.
Right? There could be improvement on both sides.
That's right.
And that's the reason we did the insurance rate ad hoc committee, and I learned a lot in that as far as what can affect rates. And it's not just lawsuits. It's, door not opening the right way, or non-fortified roof.
That's right.
Or having to replace everyone's windshield, and now
apparently $17,000 windshields.
Yeah.
I do. I guess congratulations in order too, right? Because that bill came out of the House yesterday. Yeah. So
we'll see what happens whenever it goes to the Senate.
Well, sure.
It's where all good things go to die, right?
That's fair.
Well, and that's the thing too is when we're trying to find any opportunity that we can to maybe make life more affordable here in South Carolina, it's gradualism, right? And some of these businesses, small, large, whatever. They're looking for relief now, right? Because they're struggling now. And that is some of the things that, just knee-jerk. I identify with our voters and citizens of South Carolina wanting things to be quicker. But, folks, we've got to pump the brakes, because when you hurry, when you're in a rush to get some things done, a lot of times that's where the mistakes do get made.
Well, if they're saying that the rates went up due to the 2017 law that was passed, it took 10 years, 8 years,
right,
to become an issue. Right. And now, how do you stop that?
Yeah.
Right. But as lawmakers, the problem that we often have is that whenever we go down the wrong path, instead of going back the way that we came and getting back to zero, we want to create 10 other paths to say, oh no, this is going to solve it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that makes it more complicated.
Absolutely. Well, and then if you try to legislate absolutely everything, I can imagine you can't do that, right? No. When it comes down to it, South Carolina's a part-time legislature. You guys, almost everybody in the legislature has a job outside the legislature, right?
Yeah, right.
And trying to get all that stuff done, and I don't even know how many session days you guys have, but it's not enough to get anything near.
We have 4 weeks left now? So that's like 12.
Seems like every day you lose a week. I don't know. I thought we were 6.
And so we have 12 or 15 legislative days left.
Yeah.
I know, man, and still got a lot to do. Property taxes, budget, roads. Yeah. Yep. Maybe a little bit of tort reform sprinkled in there.
I'm just trying to get Shazam out.
Yeah, that's
There you
right.
go.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, Jim, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Giving us sort of that perspective, your perspective on this tort reform conversation. I'm sure Chairman Weston Newton will play back this episode plenty of times.
I do want to add quickly before we leave, though,
Yeah.
that I was highly offended that you indicated that men could not walk around Whole Foods or whatever it was with Prosecco. I feel like if I want to drink Prosecco, that's okay. I can
Pinky's
drink
out.
Prosecco. Yeah,
Oh,
pinky's out, baby.
That's 6'7". I ain't saying nothing to you.
Fair enough.
But whenever you leave, I'll be talking again.
And another Friday reference. You gotta love it. This is a fantastic episode already.
It's the Friday episode, okay?
On a Thursday.
I love it.
Jim, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely appreciate you guys having
Thank
me.
you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Neon lights flicker, bars half full, old man arguing laws, nobody reads through, so we pour one strong, let the record spin. If you want to know the truth, pull up and listen in.
Oh, yeah.
Man, we covered a lot today, it seems like.
A whole lot and a little bit of time after the editing, I'm sure.
Yeah, right.
Even got some Friday references in. But, of course, we want to thank our guests for coming on.
Yeah, 100%.
Hopefully, our two listeners will learn a little bit about the two issues.
Yeah, or both sides of that tort reform issue, you know, and it's always
That's
good.
what I meant.
Yeah, and it's always good having a guest who's running for governor, right? Jermaine has a personal, compelling story, all the challenges that he faced early on in life, but has still found a way to overcome them.
Yes.
And you know, I just think it's a good message, especially for young kids who maybe aren't living in the two-parent household. You know what I mean? Like sort of that typical what you would imagine life to be in South Carolina households. And so I share that. I think there's a lot of stories and a lot of folks identify with that story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
It just shows what a strong man he is.
Yeah.
Everything that he's been through.
Yep. And what a very strong woman his wife is, you know, to have to
Put up with him.
Yeah, I know, right? So
But
just kidding, Jermaine.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Please go to pintsandpolitics.show. Continue to follow, like, share our videos.
Yeah.
The reels are getting good steam now.
Yep, that's right.
But thank you for your support. Thank you for our
Oh,
sponsors.
and one more thing, I do want to get on record. We made some comments in the last episode.
Yes.
And here's one thing that you'll always get from us is we're going to be transparent and honest. Sometimes it's to a fault. We got to talking about some of the issues with a longtime Democrat running for Attorney General in the Republican primary in David Pasco. And a lot of folks who are supporting him are the same far-right folks that call us rhinos, right?
Correct.
And we made a mistake. Adam Morgan, a former colleague of ours in the House, reached out to me.
Made the assumption that
Yeah.
Adam
Yeah, right?
was backing Pasco.
A lot of folks who are supporting David Pasco are folks who are members of the Freedom Caucus. Not all, but a lot of them are. And so we assumed, you know, bird of a feather flock together. And we made the presumption that Adam Morgan was also supporting David Pasco, and he isn't. So I told Adam, you know, if I make a mistake, I will always admit it. Guffey too, and so I just wanted to extend an apology to Adam Morgan personally. That was my mistake, and I'll own it.
And the only reason Adam's name was brought into it was because he was bashing Lucas Atkinson, changing parties, and
Yeah,
that's
correct.
the reason we started the comparison there.
Yeah, but again, no excuses. Made a mistake, we own it, and we're gonna move on. So, Adam, do apologize for misrepresenting your position. Free to support whoever you want. Just we like to call out some of the BS when we do see it, especially on social media. So,
And that includes our own BS sometimes.
that's right. So, but again, thanks for listening. Thanks for our sponsors, Comer Distributing, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Lies on ice cold.